The final episode of the series aired on the 3rd of April, bringing the story of Cillian Murphy's Tommy Shelby and his powerful criminal family in the 1930s Birmingham to a close. But fear not, Peaky Blinders fans, since the series finale wasn't actually the end of the road for all our favorite characters. Well, at least some of them. In 2021, showrunner Stephen Knight revealed plans for a Peaky Blinders movie, and fans think the finale might have just set the series up perfectly for the big screen. Stay tuned in today's video as we look into the ending of Peaky Blinders and how it sets up for the movie. Does Thomas Shelby die and his future? Despite the fact that Season 6 of Peaky Blinders set up Thomas Shelby's death following his fatal tuberculoma diagnosis, the finale defied the tone of the entire series by uncovering a twist that completely reversed his story. Tommy's doctor, Dr. Holford, was revealed to be a follower of Oswald Mosley who had been paid to convince Tommy that he was about to die in order to make him commit suicide. The plan was on track. We saw Tommy struggle with suicidal thoughts, which included Grace calling him home at the end of Season 5 of Peaky Blinders. But everything backfired when Tommy discovered the truth. What's not clear is, if the false tuberculoma plan was already working, why did Mosley change his mind and ask Jack Nelson to kill Tommy on his trip to Canada? In the end, neither mattered because Tommy had already discovered the truth about his doctor's identity thanks to a newspaper clipping from Mosley's own wedding. What did Tommy's vision about Ruby mean? Tommy learned the truth about his fake illness when Ruby appeared to him in a vision just as he was about to commit suicide. Tommy has already put his affairs in order at this point, securing a prosperous future for the Shelby company and ensuring that his criminal empire would be managed by his firstborn son, Duke. But Ruby's reappearance from beyond the grave intervened, leading Tommy to the fire, where he discovered his own newspaper which he'd used for kindling but hadn't read, which revealed the doctor's ties to Mosley. The thing to note here is that Tommy gets factual evidence from a vision, implying that Ruby could not have been the result of his own imagination. After 6 seasons of flirting with the idea of the supernatural, the finale finally provided concrete evidence that every vision, every future prediction read in tea leaves, every curse, and every ghost, it was all real. That eliminates the possibility that Tommy's visions were caused by his PTSD, or that the curse that killed both Grace and Ruby was a romantic explanation for a horrific series of events. So Peaky Blinders has ghosts who read the newspaper, or Tommy could have read the information in the newspaper earlier, and this is his guilt personified in a vision of his dead daughter as his own twisted coping mechanism to avoid suicide. How did Tommy know about Billy's betrayal? In Peaky Blinders Season 6, the question of why Tommy Shelby failed to deal with Billy the Black Cat is a particularly puzzling one. The unresolved plot thread was the first hint towards a plot twist involving Billy's fate, but given Tommy's apparent loss of control over reality and his business, a blind spot was inevitable. Tommy, as usual, was one step ahead of his adversaries and appeared to have known the truth about Billy all along. That would explain why Arthur made Billy kill the football referee as a punishment rather than a test of loyalty, and sent him to hell. It's unclear how Tommy discovered the truth, but the Shelbys' increasing social ostracization of Finn Shelby throughout Season 6 suggests the informer was discovered through a process of elimination. Tommy knew he'd reveal the plan to assassinate Mosley because Billy was an unknown element and Finn was dropped in the Shelby pecking order behind Isaiah so early in Season 6. The football betting scam served as a diversion as well as a lucrative business opportunity, and his unwitting hander from more important matters: the show's reception. Season 6 of Peaky Blinders received some criticism for its slow pace, but in the end, the feature-length finale wrapped up the season's major plotlines while providing a stripped-down portrait of Tommy's mental state. Peaky Blinders Season 6 was a more overt exploration of the cost of Tommy's rise to power, if the first 5 seasons were a journey through Tommy's rise to power. The 6th season did a great job at tying some of the loose knots in the story despite being only 6 episodes long. We finally got the real answers to what Little Ruby's visions of the Green-Eyed was about, as well as definitive answers to who would win the battle between Michael and Tommy, as predicted by Polly at the end of Season 5. Although some stories could have used a little more time, with a spin-off film promised as the final chapter in the Shelby story, there are plenty of hints as to what the next stage of this twisting saga could entail. Importantly, the Shelbys aren't finished yet, which is good news both in the Peaky Blinders universe and in the real world. How the ending sets up the movie. How the time jump contributes to the movie. The series jumps several years into the future in the very first episode of Season 6, and a time jump that perfectly sets up the Peaky Blinders film. Peaky Blinders was originally set to run for 7 seasons, but it was announced that those plans had changed and that the 7th season would be replaced by a final film. While the main Peaky Blinders story will be concluded in the film, the new season takes place in 1933, 4 years after Tommy's assassination attempt in 1929. While this gives Tommy enough time to mature as a man and Michael enough power to establish them as interesting rivals, it also sets the series up for the final Peaky Blinders film. Showrunner Stephen Knight wanted the show to span the years between World War I and World War II, beginning with the end of World War I in 1919 and ending with the first air raid siren of World War II in 1939. Knight has moved the timeline close enough to the start of World War II by giving Peaky Blinders Season 6 a full 4-year time jump. The movie will easily be able to fit into the timeline. However, it is difficult to predict how long the film will last. It's possible that the film will be a tense look at a brief period in the Shelbys' lives, or that it will bring the Peaky Blinders story to a close by starting starting earlier and seeing a series of time jumps throughout the years leading up to the conclusion in 1999. Two family conflict setups. The Shelby family is broken by the end of season 6, despite the fact that the final group scene for the Shelbys in the Peaky Blinders finale sees most of the family reunited and Tommy laying out a path for a hopeful future. Vin Shelby has vanished from the table after attempting to shoot Duke during Billy's murder and subsequent expulsion from the Shelby family. His promise of vengeance against his nephew foreshadows a future in which the Shelby family will be at odds, far more so than Michael's exile in America. There's also the possibility of a conflict between Duke and Tommy's other son Charlie, who is portrayed as opposing sides of Tommy. While Charlie left with his mother at the end of the episode, his treatment by Tommy had already instilled resentment in him, and Duke and Tommy's relationship could easily become a source of friction. What did Tommy whisper to Duke at the banquet? During Tommy's final supper, he gathers the Shelby family to give them his final instructions for the business and his family's continued well-being, supposedly dividing his role among those left behind after he dies. Intriguingly, he mysteriously keeps his instructions to his first son Duke a secret, whispering them into his ear in an especially tense moment. Tommy appears to be grooming his son to be his true heir, not so much to the Shelby empire and wealth as to his role as the family's shadier power broker. Despite how recently they met, this is Tommy declaring Duke as his favorite child, or at least in Charlie's eyes, whose reputation as Tommy's righteous son dictates Tommy's refusal to allow him to be corrupted. This could lead to future conflict. Duke is more like Tommy and better suited to succeed him, and the fact that he speaks to him in hushed tones is more important than the specifics of what he says. Will Tommy die in the movie? Since a lot of the characters from Peaky Blinders are real historical figures, there are few known details. Since Jack Nelson is based on Joseph Kennedy and Oswald Mosley is clearly based on Oswald Mosley, the politician, their stories play out in predictable ways. Mosley lived until 1980, and Kennedy lived until 1969, implying that the proposed Peaky Blinders spin-off movie's World War II timeline can't bring a resolution to either conflict unless the producers make significant changes to history for the sake of Tommy's catharsis. Despite Peaky Blinders' traditional adherence to historical events, there are still possibilities. From his position in the shadow due to his assumed death, Tommy could fight Mosley politically and help facilitate violent opposition to his marches and public meetings in the Peaky Blinders film. Alright, are you excited about the Peaky Blinders movie? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.